Hello, I'm Evely, and I will tell you one story of a good viewing. I first noticed it while brushing my teeth. It was nothing at first, just a strange sensation, like something was tickling the inside of my mouth, something small and crawling. I tried to ignore it, dismissing it as a passing feeling. But then, when I glanced in the mirror, I saw the little black threads. They were thin, almost invisible at first, barely noticeable against the pale walls of my mouth. But as I leaned in closer, I realized they were moving, twitching like tiny worms. They weren't just caught between my teeth or gums. No, these things were embedded in my flesh. I froze, toothbrush still in hand, and stared. What the hell were they? The threads stretched across the inside of my cheeks, writhing as if they were searching for something. I tried to brush them away with the back of my fingers, but they moved away from my touch, like they had a mind of their own. The more I watched, the more I realized they were growing, expanding, inch by inch, their blackness deepening. I swallowed hard, my throat tightening, and the strange sensation spread, crawling deeper under my skin. I stepped back, my stomach twisting in a knot. This wasn't normal. I had no idea what it was, but it felt like something alive growing inside of me. It's nothing. You're overreacting, I whispered to myself, but my hands were trembling, my heart hammering. My mouth felt too tight, too full. I spat into the sink, trying to clear the taste of unease, but when I looked up again, I saw the threads had lengthened. They were longer now, snaking toward my tongue, twining between my teeth. I stared at them in disbelief. I had no idea what this was, but I knew one thing. I couldn't just leave it. I grabbed my phone, the flashlight illuminating the inside of my mouth. Felt wrong, like I was about to uncover something I wasn't supposed to see. The black threads looked even worse up close. They didn't look like hair or fibers or anything natural. They were like some sort of organic, alien growth, alive, pulsing faintly with an energy that made my skin crawl. And they were growing faster. As I watched in growing horror, they wriggled, stretching and creeping toward the roof of my mouth. I leaned in closer. Bad idea. The threads recoiled, snapping back like they'd been disturbed. They were connected deep inside my cheeks, their root-like strands burrowing into the tissue. My breath caught in my chest. They were anchored inside me. They had to be. They were living there. My mouth suddenly felt too full, the pressure building, like something was trying to push its way out. I clutched the sides of the sink, my vision going fuzzy. A thought flickered in my mind. I need to get them out. I need to make sure they don't get any bigger. I reached in with trembling fingers. The moment my fingers touched the threads, my body shuddered in pain. It was like I was touching fire, the pain shooting through my fingers and into my chest. I yanked my hand away, gasping. The threads recoiled again, retreating like snakes from my touch. What the hell is happening? My voice cracked, barely a whisper in the bathroom. My heart pounded in my ears. I backed away from the mirror, nearly tripping over my own feet. My mouth felt alive, like it was no longer mine. I didn't want to look at my reflection, didn't want to face what was happening inside me. But I did anyway. The threads were still there, but now they were growing even faster. Spreading like vines, they snaked up toward the roof of my mouth, twisted between my teeth, and then they began to move on their own. I felt something shift deep in my throat. It wasn't just my mouth anymore. It was something under my skin, something moving beneath my flesh, spreading, stretching outwards like it was preparing to come out. Suddenly, I wasn't alone in the mirror. My reflection didn't mimic me. It stayed still as I moved, but the longer I stared, the more I realized the reflection wasn't quite right. My face was drawn tight in terror, but the reflection in the mirror, it was smiling. It was smiling. It wasn't my smile. It was wide, stretching too far, too unnaturally wide, and the corners of its lips twitched like it had a mind of its own. I stumbled back, my heart leaping into my throat. My reflection was not me. It was me, but it was wrong. It was alive in a way I couldn't explain. It was moving independently, slowly, as if savoring the moment, It raised its hands. Its hands, not mine, and pressed them to the mirror. I opened my mouth to scream, but no sound came out. I could feel the tendrils inside my mouth, moving, stretching, as if they were pushing toward the opening, as if they were reaching for the surface. I could taste something bitter, something foul in the back of my throat, the taste of something rotten. I tried to spit it out, but when I opened my mouth, the threads surged forward, pushing their way out of my mouth. I couldn't stop them. They were pulling at my skin, stretching it, tearing at the inside of my cheeks, forcing themselves outward. I screamed so loudly, but it was muffled, like it was coming from deep within my chest, buried beneath the weight of whatever was inside me. The threads were thickening, turning darker, spreading rapidly as they crawled across my tongue, coiling up toward the roof of my mouth. And then it hit me. The threads weren't just growing. They were alive. Something else was in there with me. Something that wanted out. I looked back at the mirror, my stomach twisting. The thing in the reflection wasn't smiling anymore. Its lips were moving, no, not its lips, its mouth, opening wide, wider than humanly possible, showing rows of sharp, jagged teeth beneath its lips. Its eyes were wide, wide with an expression I couldn't even begin to comprehend. The thing in the mirror was coming for me. My body froze in horror. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. The threads started to crawl down my throat. And I couldn't stop them. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. It was like my body was locked in place, frozen in terror. I could feel the thing, whatever it was, inside me, crawling, burrowing deeper. It wasn't just in my mouth anymore. No, it had spread through my entire throat, and I could feel it growing, pushing, reaching for something inside me. The black threads pulsed with an unnatural rhythm, like a heartbeat coming from deep within my chest. And then from the mirror, that thing, it wasn't me anymore, it smiled. I watched in helpless horror as it tilted its head, its lips curling wider and wider, stretching far past the limits of what any human mouth should be able to do. Its eyes were empty, hollow, like pits, black, void-like holes that bore into my soul. It was pulling me closer. My reflection, the thing wearing my face, reached out with hands that weren't mine. Its fingers stretched, bending unnaturally long, impossibly thin, like the threads that were inside me, and they pressed against the glass. It was as if the mirror itself was alive, bending to the will of whatever was growing inside me. Then the reflection moved. It stepped forward toward me. My heart skipped a beat as I realized it was no longer just a reflection. It was crossing over, pulling itself from the glass. The black threads in its mouth stretched forward as it opened wide, unhinging its jaw to reveal rows of jagged teeth, sharp and impossibly long, gleaming with a sickly wetness. The air in the bathroom grew cold, as if the temperature dropped by 10 degrees in an instant. A cold hand clasped around my throat. I gasped, choking, but I couldn't breathe. The sensation spread like something was crawling out of me and in at the same time, twisting around the insides of my body, reaching deeper, further than I could have ever imagined. I clawed at my throat, desperate, but the pressure only grew, stronger, as if something was being birthed from inside me. The black threads squeezed and pulled, making my skin stretch unnaturally tight. And then I felt it. A sharp pain so deep it took my breath away. It was inside my chest now, something that wasn't supposed to be there. I staggered backward, my knees buckling. My hands flew to my mouth, but it was no use. I couldn't stop it. I was losing control. Something was crawling out of me. I could hear it now, a sound not of my own making. A wet, squelching, twisting sound, like flesh being torn open from the inside. The threads, now thick and heavy, pulled tighter, digging into my skin, my muscles, my very bones. They weren't just part of me, they were tearing me apart. I was paralyzed. My heart raced as if it was going to explode from my chest. The room seemed to shrink, the air thick with a foul smell, something that burned my nostrils and made my stomach twist in revolt. I could still hear it, the thing beneath my skin, pushing against me, wriggling, fighting to get out. The sensation of movement inside me became unbearable. It was as if the very walls of my body were being ripped apart, torn open by this living, breathing thing inside. In the mirror, the reflection had stopped moving. It stood still, but its grin was stretched so wide that the corners of its lips reached back to its ears. I saw something move beneath its skin, beneath its eyes. It wasn't human anymore. It wasn't anything I could recognize. Its skin was too pale, too slick, like it was coated in something wet and unnatural, shining in the dim light of the bathroom. The thing inside me was waking up. It was growing faster, shifting beneath the surface of my skin, pushing, fighting its way out. I could feel it. It was alive. The black threads started to pulse with an eerie rhythm, like they were beating in time with something else. My own heartbeat. But it wasn't my heartbeat anymore. It was something else, something alien. Something that didn't belong to me. I looked back at the mirror, my stomach flipping. The thing in the reflection moved again. Its mouth stretched even wider until I thought it might split in half. It wasn't just a smile. It was something horrible. It was as though its mouth was a trap pulling the darkness inside. And then it opened its mouth too wide and something shot out from the reflection. Black tendrils burst from the mirror like a flood, writhing and twisting through the air. I couldn't stop them. They were like snakes, fast and deadly, coiling around me before I could even react. I screamed, but the sound came from the mirror, not my mouth. My voice was replaced by the sound of something writhing inside me. Something that wasn't my own. The black threads tangled around my wrists, pulling me toward the mirror. My body screamed, fought against the pull, but my legs felt like they were made of stone. Every inch I moved forward felt like I was sinking into quicksand. I could feel the warmth of the mirror now, the glass too soft, like it was no longer solid, like it was alive itself. The threads tangled around my limbs, squeezing tighter, cutting into my skin. It was as if they were trying to drag me into the glass, pulling me into the darkness that lay beyond. The thing was coming out. From deep within, something cracked, split open, and I felt a flood of cold air rush through my throat. I choked. My stomach twisted as a sharp, alien pain surged through me. I stumbled backward, gasping for breath, my chest tight and constricted. And then it happened. A sharp crack from inside my mouth. I collapsed to the floor. The black threads ripped through my mouth, tearing the flesh open, crawling out of me in thick, horrible masses. I screamed. This time, my voice was my own, but it felt as if the scream wasn't coming from me at all. It was coming from the thing inside. I saw it now. It was coming out. A mass crawled from my mouth, its surface slick and pulsating, black as night, covered in hundreds of wriggling threads, like worms or maggots, squirming and squelching in an impossible mass of dark, slick flesh. It reached for me, stretching toward my face like it wanted to consume me, to swallow me whole. My reflection in the mirror? It was gone. The thing from the glass, the one with the distorted grin, was here now. In front of me. A version of me, but wrong. It reached out, its fingers like claws, sharp and long. I screamed, but my throat was being filled with something else, something that blocked every sound. It was getting closer. I could feel the cold breath of the thing, its presence suffocating me. The black mass continued to spill from my mouth like it was never-ending, writhing, choking the air around me. I couldn't think. My mind was spiraling into panic and there was nothing I could do to stop it. It reached out with its cold, tendril-like fingers and I felt them enter me. Not through my mouth, but through my skin, through my eyes, my ears, my nose. I could feel them crawling through my veins, taking root in my very bloodstream. It was everywhere. Inside me, outside of me. I felt the thing consuming me from every direction. I tried to move, but my body didn't respond. It was as if I was frozen in place. And then I heard it. A voice. Not a voice I recognized. It whispered, its words deep and guttural. "We're the same." And then everything faded. Thank you very much and see you all in the next video.